Hey, what's going on, guys? In this video I want to show you the results of Harbinger test. So in this test I want to answer two main questions. First one is how much money you can make per Harbinger. So I don't really care about money per hour, so I'm not gonna look at this as a strategy, because most of the time when you're gonna do Harbingers, you're also gonna do some other league mechanics like Legion, Beyond, Delirium, so you're not gonna just focus on Harbingers. And in this test I wanted to just figure out currency per Harbinger, so this is why I was doing just them. And the second question I want to answer is how good is this sextant. So I want to compare the maps without this sextant and with this sextant. So if in case you don't know what this sextant does, is that it adds one Harbinger to a map, which is decent, but it's obviously not that great. But what it also does is that it makes map bosses drop currency shards. So this is why I am doing this test in city squares, because it has 3 map bosses, and it says each map boss drops additional currency shards. So all 3 of them are gonna drop some additional currency shards. And also, if you get a mod on a map that says map bosses are duplicated, it's gonna have 6 of them, so quite a lot of currency shards. And this is why I'm also using this Atlas passive, which gives maps 20% chance that the bosses will be duplicated. So in case you don't have that mod on a map, you still have a chance 1 in 5 to have duplicated map bosses, so 6 of them. And the last line, which is the most important one, is Harbingers drop additional currency shards. So this is why I wanted to do the test. Basically, what does that mean? Like, actually, how many overall additional currency shards? So this just multiplies the money that you get from all of the Harbingers in a map, not only this one. So this is why I wanted to put as many Harbingers as possible in the map. So I was using Gilded Harbinger Scarabs for 4 Harbingers, also Map Device for 2 additional Harbingers, and obviously Atlas passives for 1 additional Harbinger. And here you also have some passives with in total 30% chance for additional Harbinger. So in total that was 8.3 Harbingers per map. And then, so I did 100 maps with this setup, and after that I also wanted to do 100 maps without this sextant. But a little spoiler here, the second test was actually pretty bad, and after doing 50 maps I already knew that running maps with a sextant is just much better, and I wasn't really making any currency without it. So after 50 maps I just stopped doing it, so I ended up doing 100 maps with this setup and 50 maps without this setup. Also, the second test was not in the city squares, it was in Ashen Woods, because it was just easier to buy city squares and Ashen Woods, not just city squares. And if you are not running this sextant, it doesn't really matter what kind of map you are running. And with the results, I'm just gonna duplicate all of the loot I got from the second test, so the test is fair. Okay, so before I show you the example, let me quickly go over my Atlas passive tree. So obviously I went for all of the Harbinger nodes, so here 1 additional Harbinger and just a chance for additional currency shards. This is probably the most important point, which not only gives you more monsters in from Harbingers, but it also says currency shards dropped by Harbingers can drop as currency instead. And I believe during the whole test I did get 2 full exalted orbs, and I also seen quite a lot of just full ancient orbs and chaos orbs and so on. And also I was not picking up the small currencies, small currency shards like alteration shards, engineer orbs shards, the regal, horizon and binding shards. And this passive still has the chance to drop them as full currency. So when they did drop as full currency, I would pick them up, but I still wasn't picking them up as the shards. And the last one, 25% chance that the Harbinger is gonna be replaced with Harbinger boss, which basically means more monsters from the Harbingers, and just chance for additional harbinger. On top of that, everything else doesn't really matter too much. I obviously went for the influence passives, just for some additional altars, and the most important altar was a 10 to 15% chance that currencies you drop from the map are gonna be duplicated, which can duplicate the currencies you get from the harbingers. And obviously again enriched entities for 20% chance that the boss is gonna be duplicated to get more loot from the sextant. And here also some pack size for the influence and guardian map chance to drop guardian maps. And all of the other points I did spend on map modifier effect and quantity, just for some additional loot, because to be honest I didn't really care about anything else. Again, I didn't want to do any other league mechanic to do this test, and I just had some spare points which I did spend on some shrine nodes, obviously essences, because essences are just always very nice, and here for some additional rare monsters, and rare monsters have a chance to drop basic currency, and I do believe this also means that the rare monsters from the harbingers can drop the basic currency items. Okay, so that's it when it comes to the tree. So now let me show you a map example. So I was obviously using 4 chisels, and I was rolling the maps until they have at least 80% quantity. So I did have to spend quite a lot of scours and alchemies, but to be honest they are pretty cheap, so I didn't really care about that. And after that I was obviously using the sextant and map device mod, and that's pretty much it. So let me now show you the example. It doesn't have the duplicated map bosses, but maybe the Atlas passive will proc. So first thing I was going for is killing the map boss to eliminate all of the altars that give map drops. Oh, I actually forgot to change the influence, so it's gonna be without the influence, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, as you can see, quite a lot of shards from the map bosses. Again, it's not gonna have the altars because I forgot to swap the influence from the Maven, but it doesn't matter too much. Here is the second harbinger. First one was at the map boss. Essence. I would obviously corrupt the essences like that, but I forgot to take the remnant. Quite a lot of essences. Now let's search for the third harbinger. There it is. So this is the big one, I believe. No, it's actually the small one. So that's number 3. Number 4. Here's a 5th one. And here are the rest of them, I believe. So here is a big one, so the one that has a 25% chance to spawn instead of a normal one. I think there should be like one more somewhere. 2 exalted shards. Quite a lot of chaos shards. This is why I actually put chaos shards back on my loot filter. Normally I don't have them on my loot filter, but because I was killing so many harbingers, I decided to put them on. And I believe that's it. So I did actually get 1 full engineer orb, because again I didn't have the engineer shards on the filter, and I don't think anything else has dropped us full currency. Maybe some chaos orbs, I'm not too sure about that. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now let me go over the results. So here are the results from the maps with the sextant. So here are all of the map drops, just some random stuff, essences, cards, and Eldritch currency. Here are just more random drops, mostly just guardian maps, contracts, and so on. And here is what is the most important one, which is the currency that you get from the harbingers. So 10.5 exalted orbs, almost 100 ancient orbs, more than 100 annulments, not that many harbingers actually, but as you can see here, quite a lot of chaos orbs. And here are all of the other currencies that I just got from full currency drops, because again I wasn't picking up their shards. Obviously some of them probably did drop not from the harbingers, mostly just alteration and chaos orbs, but there's no real way to just know which one drops from harbingers and which didn't. Probably I could just pay attention and not pick them up if they didn't drop from harbingers, but I decided to not do that. And then again, probably like 80% of them did drop from the harbingers anyway. And here are just some scarabs from the altars and other currencies that can't drop from the harbingers. And probably some of them still did drop from the harbingers, just not as shards, just as you can see here, just some chance orbs, fun making, fusings, and so on. So probably some of them dropped as harbingers, but not as the base harbinger drop pool. And here is the loot from the 50 maps without the sextant. So here is again just some random loot, here is more random loot, and here is the loot from harbingers. So just this part, this is all of the other random stuff. So obviously this is 50 maps, so you should expect to get more loot. Again, less loot. Again, I did duplicate the loot in the spreadsheet, which I'm gonna show you in a second. But still, even from half of the map, as you can see, like things like ancient orbs, I only got 24. If you would duplicate it, that's like 50. And if you look here, that's almost 100 ancient orbs. So it's still like double the amount of ancient orbs with sextant. And similar things with annulment, chaos orbs, and alterations. The only, I guess, similar amount was exalted orbs, which is 4. So if you would duplicate it, that's 8. And here I did get almost 11, so it's not that big difference, but maybe I just got a little bit luckier here. And also I actually did drop a mirror shard from this test, which was quite surprising, and honestly you probably have more chances to drop them with the sextant, but still I got it here, and this is why I decided to not include it in the final test results, because that's just very lucky drop, and to be honest I don't really know how often you should expect to get one mirror shard. Okay, so now let's look at the spreadsheet. So here you can see all of the costs, just like with every test I am doing. So 100 maps, around 300 rerolls, 100 scarabs, 25 sextants, which go for 30C each, and 100 map device mods. And here you can see profit per hour, which is 6 exalts per hour. Test took me 6.5, but again I don't really care about that number. It's actually a pretty decent amount, to be honest. With just running harbingers, 6x per hour is not that bad. But this is the most important part, which is all of the harbinger currency. And I'm gonna link the spreadsheet in the description, so if you are wondering how much money you would be making from this in like a future league, or when prices change of certain currencies, you can just change it in here, make a copy of the spreadsheet, change things in here, and you can see how much money you would make. So here is quantity of all of the currencies, price of them, and total price of all of them. And here the amount of shards I did get per harbinger. So this is basically divided by the amount of harbingers, which is on average 830, because again I have 30% chance to get additional harbinger from the Atlas passive. And these, so from like here to here, Obviously I was again not picking up shards, but still, if you would wonder how many like shards you would get per harbinger by just picking up the full currency, if you know what I mean. And here is the total profit from harbingers, so 27x. So per map I was profiting 42 chaos, which is 5 chaos per harbinger, and this is without the cost. So this is basically how much each harbinger is as its value in chaos. So pretty much just 5 chaos you get from each harbinger. And here is the second test. So here this is the base test, so with 50 of them, so 4.5 exalts per hour, and this is with duplicated amounts to make things fair, if you want to compare it to the first one. So it's still 4.5x per hour, which is obviously much less than in here, but what's most of the important thing is when you look at the value per harbinger, it's only 3c per harbinger, and here it was 5. So it's actually a big difference, but obviously we're gonna add some additional cost here in form of the sextant. So now when we want to compare them, I made the second spreadsheet, third one. So here we can see the same numbers. I just copied them from the other two spreadsheets. And here we can see sextant price 25c, which means per map. So sextant has 4 uses. Actually, this should be 30, not 25. 7.5c price per map, and sextant price, scarab price was 15c, so gilded scarab. And here I did include the other scarabs if you would want to use them instead of the gilded. And here is the amount of harbingers I had in map, so 2 from map device, 4 from the scarab, 1.3 from Atlas passive, and 1 from the sextant. So in total 8.3 again, and without the sextant that would be 7.3. So that's the second test. So this is the basically end result. So again, profit per harbinger 5c in this one and 3c in this one, and price per map was 26c in this test and 19c in this test, in terms of just harbingers without the map, rolling the maps and so on. And here is price per harbinger, so not per map, but price per each harbinger. So if we remove the cost per harbinger, I was profiting 1.9c per harbinger in this test and 0.4c in the second one, which actually means that I was barely making any profit from harbingers in the second test. So that basically means actually quite a lot of money just came from other things. So as you can see here, just other loot 3.8k and harbingers was just 2.4k, when in first one it was pretty much the same amount from other stuff and the harbingers, and here it's pretty much just half. And if you would want to see how much money you would make from the same thing but with running polished or the rusted scarab, so I would change this number to 8c and 3 harbingers instead of 4. That would be 1c instead of 0.4, so that's actually a big difference. So if you would want to run harbingers without this sextant, you definitely should consider not using gilded scarab. And even if you look at the profit from harbingers with sextant, I still was making quite a lot more. Now if we change to rusted, that would be 4c and 2 harbingers. It's not that big of a difference in this test, and we're gonna get 1 additional harbinger in each map, so at the end of the day you should make more profit from this test. But here it is actually still a decent increase. So instead of 8 3, that would be 1C per harbinger, and with rusted that would be 1.5, so that's still 50% more profit per harbinger without the sextant. But again, with the sextant it's only like 0.2. So conclusion is basically, if you're gonna run just harbinger without the sextant, just go for rusted or polished. If you are gonna run the sextant, definitely go for at least polished, and you can consider going gilded, but I actually would go for gilded pretty much only if I was running some kind of other strategy like Beyond, Delirium, so you can also get more money from the other league mechanics thanks to some additional harbingers. So that's pretty much it in terms of the test. Thanks for watching and see you next time.